Jai Hind. Today I am discussing about the topic DC circuits. In this topic we will discuss about the different types of elements which may be there in the circuit, like this includes linear, non-linear elements, active, passive, unilateral and bilateral elements, and we will find that circuit is consisting of all such elements. Then we will have different types of energy sources which are connected in the circuit, that may include independent energy sources which may be ideal and non-ideal or practical type of energy sources, which is categorized into the voltage source and current source. Then after that, how to convert one energy source into the equivalent energy source, like voltage source is converted to the equivalent current source and the current source is converted to the equivalent voltage source, that we will discuss. And then after this, how to convert star connected elements in the equivalent delta or vice versa of this. All these things will be discussed under this topic DC circuits. So, first we go for the various types of elements which are connected in the DC circuit. So, if we see it, these are the definitions for various elements, like we have linear element. So, a linear element is an electrical element which is having linear relationship between the current and voltage. So, these linear elements, they follow the property of homogeneity and additivity. What is homogeneity? In which output is directly proportional to input, that is homogeneity property, and additivity means superposition. If it is followed, then the element is known as linear element. The example for linear element is resistance. Other than this, inductance and capacitance, they are also coming under the category of linear elements. On the other hand, we have nonlinear elements. In this property of homogeneity and additivity, they are not satisfied, so that there is not a linear relationship between input and output in such elements. And for this, the example is diode, since in that output and input, they are not the linear function, they are the non-linear function. So, this diode is coming under the category of non-linear element. Similarly, some more elements like active elements, these are the elements which are the source of electrical energy, so that they generate or produce the electrical energy, and such elements are active elements. Like for example, we have batteries, generators, transistors, operational amplifier and vacuum tube, diode, they are coming under the category of active elements. Like in case of battery, we know the chemical reaction takes place and energy is liberated, which is converted to the electrical form of energy, and that is supplied in the circuit in which the battery is connected. Similarly, these other examples, generator, transistor, vacuum tube, diode, they are all having this property and they are coming under the category of active elements. On the other hand, we have passive elements for this. They are the elements which either consume or dissipate the energy, or also they can store the energy. So, they, under this category, we have the examples R, L and C, resistance, inductance and capacitance. In this resistance, we know this consume the energy in heat form, and inductance and capacitance, they are the energy storing elements, and all these three elements, they are coming under the category of passive elements. Next type, we have unilateral elements and bilateral elements. So, first one, we have unilateral elements in which the relation of voltage and current, that is not identical or not the same for the both the directions of current flow. That means, on reversing the direction of current flow, the relation between voltage and current also changes simultaneously. And the example for this is diode, transistor. We know When diode is in forward bias mode, that time it conducts the current easily, but if it is reverse bias, that time the current conduction is not easily possible. Plus the relationship is also affected for the voltage and current in the reverse bias mode. That is why diode is coming under the category of unilateral elements. Now, if we talk about bilateral elements, so there the relation between voltage and current, that is same for both the directions of current flow. That means there will be no change in the relation between voltage and current, whatever is the direction of current flow, either it is forward or reverse flow of current. And the example for this is R, L and C, in which the voltage and current relations are not affected for the change in the current flow direction. That is why they are bilateral elements. Next we have various types of energy sources. So, this is having ideal and practical energy source, and this is categorized under the two categories. One is voltage source and another one is current source. So, first we discuss what is voltage source, and this is having two types, ideal and practical voltage source. So, an ideal voltage source, that is a two terminal device, we can say, which is capable of providing a constant voltage across its terminals and which is independent of the load current, meaning to say whatever is the load current passing through the source, the terminal voltage remains same, that does not change with the change in the current in the ideal voltage source. And the reason for this is the internal resistance of the ideal voltage source, that is 0. That means there is no internal resistance in the ideal voltage source, and the symbol for this, that is shown in the diagram for ideal voltage source, that is not having any internal resistance. And if we talk about the characteristics for this ideal voltage source, so we can see from the characteristic diagram that source voltage which is given by EMF of the source, that is also equal to the terminal voltage whatever current is passing through the source in the circuit, and the reason already we have seen, the internal resistance of the source is 0, that is why it is there. On the other hand, if we take practical voltage source, so in this, from the symbolic representation of practical voltage source, or we can also say it is a non-ideal voltage source, there is some internal resistance of finite value which is connected in series with the source, on account of which when a current passes through the source in the circuit, then a voltage drop takes place in this internal resistance, and due to it the terminal voltage that changes with the change in current supplied by the source. So, if we change the current passing through the source by changing the load resistance which is connected across the terminals of the source, then voltage drop through the internal resistance that will change, and accordingly the terminal voltage that will change, which is available across the terminals of this source. So, here the characteristic curve that is explaining all these things, on the x axis we see there is current, and on the y axis we are taking the terminal voltage of the source. So, with the increase in current, the terminal voltage is reducing. This is on account of internal resistance voltage drop I R. So, we can write the equation for this, V equal to E minus I R, that can be written like V is the terminal voltage here, that can be written V equal to E minus I R. I can write the equation V equal to E minus I into small r, where small r is the internal resistance of this voltage source. So, with the change in current passing through the source, the internal resistance voltage drop I R, that will change accordingly, and due to this the terminal voltage V, that will change due to it. So, accordingly we are seeing the characteristic that with the increase in the current passing through the source, by changing the load resistance connected across the terminals of the source, the voltage across the terminals in this, that will change. So, with the increase in current, terminal voltage is falling or reducing due to this. Now, next we have ideal and practical current sources. This is the second category in the energy source. So, in ideal current source, we can see from the diagram, symbolic representation is there, that it is having infinite value of internal resistance and that is connected in parallel with the source, and due to it a constant current is supplied by this source in the circuit in which it is connected. So, whatever is the value of the load resistance connected across the terminals of this source, the current supplied by the source, that remains constant due to the reason internal resistance of the source is infinite. On the other hand, if we talk about practical current source or non-ideal current source, it is having a finite value of internal resistance which is connected in parallel with the current source. So, on account of this, with the change in load resistance value, the current through the load that will change, and accordingly the terminal voltage across the load will change. So, here we can write the equation for this current which is passing through the load in case of practical current source using parallel current division rule. Suppose R L is the resistance which is the load resistance, then the current passing through the load resistance, that will be given by I L, it is equal to I S into R S upon R S plus R L. So, here we see if we change the value of R L, accordingly the value of the current passing through the load resistance, that will change, and it is shown in the characteristic curve of the practical current source, that with the change in the terminal voltage, the current supplied by the source to the load resistance, that is changing. So, this is the characteristic for practical current source. Next, after this, we can take the conversion from voltage source to equivalent current source or vice versa of it, and we will find after this, after discussing this, that it is possible to convert an ideal voltage a voltage source into the current source, equivalent current source, or vice versa of it. So, how can we do it? If we take one voltage source, suppose it is having a voltage E, that is EMF of this voltage source, and having internal resistance, that is suppose R, this is given by R E, and these are the terminals of this source. Now, we are connecting some load resistance here across this source, that is suppose R L, and a current I L is passing through this. So, I L will be written as E divided by R E plus R L. Now, we want to convert this voltage source into the equivalent current source. So, if we convert it, we can draw the equivalent current source, that is suppose having a current I and internal resistance is connected in parallel, that is suppose R I. Now, for the equivalency of this current source, same value of load resistance should be connected across this current source terminals which was connected across the voltage source terminals. That means, R L should be connected here for taking the equivalency. Now, for equivalency, another thing, the current supplied to the load resistance should also be same in this current source which was supplied in case of voltage source, that current should remain same. So, here the current, suppose I am getting I L dash. So, this current can be written as I into R I divided by R I plus R L. Now, both these currents should be equal for the equivalency. So, I L should be equal to I L dash. So, if we do it, we will find when IL equal to IL dash for the equivalency of the two sources. So, that time we can write E divided by RE plus RL, which is the value of IL, that should be equal to the value of IL dash, which is I into RI upon RI plus RL. So, by taking the equivalency here, we can see E should be equal to IRI and RE plus RL should be equal to RI plus RL, and from this we get RE should be equal to RI. That means the internal resistance of the voltage source and current source, they should be equal to each other, one thing. And another thing, when we are connecting same value of load resistance across the source, that time same amount of current in the load resistance should pass, then we convert the given voltage source into the equivalent current source in this way, or the vice versa of this, that is also possible. So, from this discussion we find this conversion from voltage source to current source or vice versa of it, it is possible for practical voltage and practical current source only. It is not possible for ideal voltage and ideal current source. Reason being, in ideal voltage source internal resistance is 0, which is connected in series, already we have discussed, and similarly for ideal current source internal resistance is infinite, which is connected in parallel. And for the conversion means from voltage source to current source or vice versa of this, the internal resistances should be equal, that we have found here. RE should be equal to RI, where RE is the internal resistance of the voltage source and RI is the internal resistance of the current source, they should be equal, then only this conversion is possible. So, it is not applicable for the ideal voltage and ideal current source on the basis of it. So, that way we convert the voltage source into the equivalent current source or vice versa of it, and by doing so, many times in complicated cases in the circuit, we do the simplification of the circuit with the help of it. Now, next we have basic laws of the circuits. This includes KCL and KVL. KCL stands for Kirchhoff's current law, while the KVL stands for Kirchhoff's voltage law. So, first one we have Kirchhoff's current law. This law is based upon the law of conservation of charge, as per which algebraic sum of all the currents meeting at a junction point is 0. And as a conclusion of this, we can say the sum of the current entering at a node or junction point is equal to the sum of the currents leaving the junction point. So, like in this diagram we see 4 branches, they are meeting at a junction point. In these branches the currents are shown IA and IB, they are the entering current towards the junction, while IC and ID, they are the leaving currents from the junction. So, IA plus IB will be equal to IC plus ID, since the entering current should be equal to the leaving current as per KCL. So, if we take one example of it here, in this circuit at a node there are 6 branches connected and the currents are shown in the different branches, and in one of the branch current Ix, that is unknown current, we are to find. So, we can see 4 ampere, 2 ampere, 6 ampere and 9 ampere current, they are the entering current to the node, while minus 1 ampere and Ix, these are the currents leaving the node. So, as per KCL we will write 4 plus 2 plus 6 plus 9, that becomes 21 entering current sum, it will be equal to Ix minus 1, which is the sum of leaving currents. So, from this the value of Ix will become 21 plus 1, that becomes 22 ampere. So, in this way using the KCL we find the value of this current. Next we have KVL, as per which the algebraic sum of the voltages around each loop is 0. So, if we begin with the one node and add the voltages across each of the branch in the loop, then we apply this KVL in the loop. So, as per this we can write algebraic sum of voltage drops minus algebraic sum of voltage rises is equal to 0, or it can also be written as algebraic sum of voltage drops equal to the algebraic sum of voltage rises, and this can be written as summation IR equal to summation E. That is, summation IR means algebraic sum of voltage drops and summation E means algebraic sum of voltage rises. So, in this way we can apply Kirchhoff's voltage law or KVL in a given circuit, and then we can find the unknown current or voltage in the circuit, but the condition is that it is applicable in a loop, that means in a closed path it is applicable. So, if we take one circuit, for example, like in this circuit we can see a voltage source of 12 volt that is connected, and with this source in a loop we are connecting the two resistances 7 ohm and 3 ohm, and they are connected in series. So, a current I is passing in this circuit, in this loop or in this closed path, and due to that the voltage drops are taking place across 7 ohm resistance, that is we are representing by VAB, since this is connected in this branch AB, and similarly the voltage drop across 3 ohm, that is VBC, since it is connected in the branch BC. So, as per KVL, if we apply it in this circuit, we will have to take the algebraic sum of voltage drops in the passive element, and similarly we will have to take the algebraic sum of EMF in the loop. EMF is for the voltage source, and then we equate the two, and then we can find the current passing through this loop or passing in the different elements which are connected in this loop. So, by Kirchhoff's voltage law we can write VAB plus VBC equal to 12, or VAB plus VBC minus 12 equal to 0, where VAB and VBC, these are the voltage drops, algebraic sum of voltage drops, and 12, that is the EMF of the voltage source. So, putting the values of VAB and VBC in this, VAB is the voltage drop across 7 ohm, so that is I into 7. VBC is the voltage drop across 3 ohm, so that is I into 3. So, put these values VAB and VBC. So, this becomes I into 7 plus I into 3 minus 12 equal to 0. So, from this becomes I into 10 equal to 12, and the value of I will become 12 upon 10, that is 1.2 ampere. So, that way we find the solution, that how much current is passing in this circuit by applying KVL to this circuit. That way we apply the KVL to a given circuit. It may consist of more number of closed path, more number of loops. Then we will apply the KVL for all those loops in order to solve the circuit in the same manner as we have done for this loop. Next topic we have delta to star conversion, and similarly we have star to delta conversion. So, first we should know what is delta connection and star connection, and why do we are doing it. We are to simplify the circuit. Sometime we are given the complicated circuit, and that time it is not simply possible to simplify the circuit by using Kirchhoff's laws or by using series parallel reduction of the circuit. So, that time this conversion from star to delta or delta to star, that becomes helpful for us to simplify the circuit and to solve the circuit with the help of that. So, here we see what is delta connection and star connection. In delta connection, the three elements which may be resistances, inductances or capacitances or the combination of that, they are connected in this triangular connection form. Like in the left hand side diagram, you can see these three resistances A, B and C, they are connected in delta in a triangular form or triangular connection at the terminals 1, 2 and 3. In the star connection, the three elements, they are connected in star. So, that time what we have, the one common terminal is there, that on that all the three elements they are connected, and remaining three terminals, they are the free terminals. Like in the diagram on the right hand side, the three resistances P, Q and R, they are connected in star at one common terminal. That common terminal is known as star point or neutral point of the star connection, and remaining 3 terminals are terminal number 1, 2 and 3. So, that way this is about what is delta connection and star connection. Now, if these connections are given to us, suppose we are connecting the 3 elements in delta and we want to convert it into the equivalent star. So, how to convert it? That is coming under the category or coming under the head delta to star conversion. So, if we see it here in this circuit, for finding this equivalency, what we do? We find the equivalent resistance across the pair of terminals. Like in delta connection, if we find it, we can find the equivalent resistance across the terminal pair 1 and 2, similarly across 2 and 3 and 3 and 1. Now, for equivalency, same equivalent resistance we should get or we should have across the terminal pairs in star connection across 1 and 2, 2 and 3 and 3 and 1. Then if it is there, then we can say the star obtained from the given delta, that is the equivalent star for the given delta. So, if we do so, in the delta connection, if we see across terminal 1 and 2, the resistance B and C, they are connected in series and that combination is in parallel with A. While in star connection across terminal pair 1 and 2, the two resistances P and Q, they are connected in series. That time the resistance R will be out of the circuit when we are finding the equivalent resistance across the terminal pair 1 and 2 in the star connection. So, we can write P plus Q equal to the parallel equivalent of A and B plus C from the delta. So, as per formula, we can write P plus Q equal to A into B plus C divided by A plus B plus C. Suppose this becomes equation number 1. Similarly, if we take for equivalent resistance across terminal pair 2 and 3, so that time in the star connection it will become series connection of Q and R across terminal pair 2 and 3. So, this is Q plus R, and in delta connection across terminal pair 2 and 3, it will be A and B in series and the combination of this is in parallel with C. So, we can say C is in parallel with A plus B. So, we will write Q plus R equal to C into A plus B divided by A plus B plus C. This becomes equation number 2. And in the same manner across the terminal pair 1 and 3, the P plus R will be equal to B into A plus C upon A plus B plus C. This becomes equation number 3. So, now we have 3 unknowns P, Q and R which we are to find in terms of A, B and C, and we have 3 equations. So, by solving these 3 equations, we will come to know the values of P, Q and R in terms of A, B and C. So, what we do for this? We take equation number 3 minus equation number 2. That means, we are subtracting the equation number 2 from equation number 3. So, which is giving us P plus R minus Q plus R. The values of P plus R we know, value of Q plus R that we know. We put these values here and then we find this. So, P plus R is B into A plus C upon A plus B plus C, and similarly Q plus R is C into A plus B upon A plus B plus C. So, P minus Q we will get from this, that comes out to be B A plus B C upon A plus B plus C. Similarly, minus C A plus C B upon A plus B plus C. Similarly, we will form Q minus R equation and R minus P equation, and then after simplifying those equations, we will be able to get the values of P, Q and R in terms of A, B and C. So, on solving, finally, we get P equal to A B upon A plus B plus C, Q equal to A C upon A plus B plus C and R equal to B C upon A plus B plus C. So, that way we are obtaining the values of P, Q and R in terms of A, B and C, in which A, B and C, they are the delta connected resistances that we can see in the previous slide, and P, Q and R, they are the equivalent values of the resistances when we are converting the given delta into the equivalent star. So, that way we are obtaining the values of P, Q and R in terms of A, B and C. So, this we call delta to star conversion or delta to star transformation. Similarly, we can have star to delta transformation in which the star connected resistances, they are converted to delta connected resistances. So, if we see it on the left hand side diagram, we have three resistances P, Q and R, they are connected in star, and on the right hand side diagram we get equivalent delta conversion. So, we are getting three resistances A, B and C which are connected in delta, and the formula for this means what are the values of A, B and C in terms of P, Q and R that we can find. So, these values are given as written in this equation. A is equal to P q upon R plus Q plus P. Similarly, B is equal to R P upon Q upon plus P plus R, and C is equal to Q R upon P plus Q plus R. So, that way we are able to find the values of A, B and C in terms of P, Q and R, where P, Q and R are the resistances in star, and when we are converting it into the equivalent delta, then A, B and C, those are the resistances we are getting from star to delta conversion. So, that way we can convert a given star connected circuit or the star connected network into the equivalent delta connected network. So, finally, if we see star delta transformation, so here this is the complete formula that is shown in this. On the left hand side we can see Z1, Z2 and Z3, these are the three impedances connected in star at the terminals 1, 2 and 3. Z1 is connected with 1, Z2 with terminal 2 and Z3 connected with terminal 3, and in the delta we can see at the same terminals 1, 2 and 3, three impedances ZA, ZB and ZC, they are connected in delta. So, if we convert delta to star or star to delta, what will be the relation and how can we obtain it? All this is given in this formula, like Z1 that is equal to ZA into ZB upon ZA plus ZB plus ZC. Similarly, for Z2 it is ZA into ZC upon ZA plus ZB plus ZC, and Z3 equal to ZB into ZC upon ZA plus ZB plus ZC. And in the same manner, if we convert star into delta, that time ZA equal to Z1 plus Z2 plus Z1 Z2 upon Z3, and ZB equal to Z1 plus Z3 plus Z1 Z3 upon Z2, and ZC equal to Z2 plus Z3 plus Z2 into Z3 upon Z1. So, that way we are able to convert a given delta into equivalent star or the vice versa of it. And now the question is, why do we convert the delta into star or star into delta? The simple reason or simple answer for this is, many times we are given the complicated circuit, and it may be possible that time that some of the elements they are connected in star, and if we are able to convert it into the equivalent delta, then circuit may be simplified. And similarly, the vice versa of this may also be possible, that if some of the elements they are connected in delta, and if we are able to convert them into the equivalent star, then the circuit will become simplified, and then we will be able to solve the circuit with the help of this conversion. So, that time we use this conversion from star to delta or delta to star. Otherwise, we can solve the circuit with other methods also, like we can apply Kirchhoff's law or series parallel reduction to the circuit, but in case of complicated circuit, this is not so easily possible to apply Kirchhoff's law or series parallel reduction all the time. So, that time we do take the help of this transformation or conversion from star to delta or delta to star, and this is done for simplifying the circuit and then finally to solve the circuit with the help of it.